Welcome to the latest episode of Thinking Tackle. I'm Hamidi and we've got a really special show in store for you. For the first time ever, we've taken a move away from the traditional stillwater. We're on the Grand Union Canal in Hertfordshire. We're in the Aylesbury Tring area and these canals are full of carp, some wonderful fish, and we're joined by special guest James Armstrong. James, a really good friend of mine. He's been spending a lot of time here in the winter having some great catches. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Well, Jimmy, what a magnificent day it is and what a beautiful stretch of canal, mate. I know you've had a good winter over here. What sort of fish did you catch?
I had some lovely fish, mate. I had some mirrors, some lovely dark commons, up to over 20 pounds, so I had a real good winter over here.
Right, and what's going to be the plan of attack on the Grand Union for the next couple of days?
I mean, to keep things very simple, mate. They're not pressured at all, other than match anglers, really. There's the odd carp angler down here, but you know, they don't get pressured very much. So keeping things simple, mate, is and also keep on the move.
Yep.
There's not hundreds of carp in here. There's like little families of sort of 5 or 6 under the trees. So you have got to keep on the move. If you catch one, they'll often move up to another stretch. So keep mobile.
Now, what the people probably at home don't realise is the fact that when you've got a camera crew here, you can't be as mobile as you'd normally be. Because I know if we were here just fishing for ourselves, we'll have our small amount of kit, fish for a couple of hours in one spot, don't catch nothing, back to the car, off to a new area.
Yeah, exactly.
But we have got a crew here with us and we have got a challenge on our hands. So do you think we're going to stay in one spot maybe per day and then move to another one and maybe somewhere else on a third day?
Yeah, I think that's the best thing to do, mate. Unfortunately, we have got a load of rhinos with cameras here, so keeping on the move, mate, is going to be a little bit loud and I think we will spook them easily. So once we're set up, I think we should stay pretty static. You fish at one end, I'll fish the other end.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll keep the fish in the middle area and intercept them like that. I think that's the best way.
Definitely, and we've both got a fair bit of experience on the canals, Jimmy, and uniquely there does seem to be a key feeding time, doesn't there? Yeah,
there does, mate. As you know, it's just as the sun's going down, the very last minute is the time to get a bite.
And also early morning.
Yeah. If we're up early enough, mate.
It is a shallow old stretch and it does look nice and clear under these trees.
Yeah.
And as you know, we've got a few tricks up our sleeve, which one very special one that's going to help people bank a lot of carp. So we're going to show you that right now. Don't worry, I haven't become a pole angler, but this wonderful little bit of kit is called a margin pole and it's going to allow me not to lose a load of tackle. Because the great thing about these things are, you literally put your rig inside. That's what I'm going to do here. I've got Jimmy on hand to help me take the rod out there because he's going to just hold the line and keep it tight as it comes through a free bail arm. But basically you could do it on your own. So if you have a look inside there, that's my bait, the rig's all in there. I've not put a lot of bait in. The mistake a lot of people make in a bait boat or in these spoons is to put too much in. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to catch them, not feed them. So, small amount of bait, and quite simply, just make sure that's all sorted. Yep, that's good to go. I'm literally going to lay this on the surface with my able assistant. You're much better looking than Debbie McGee, Jimmy. Now, don't try to hold the pole. You're literally going to skim it along the surface. That's what the bit of foam's for. And I don't know about you, but I tell you what, this won't half save on a bit of tackle. It's the amount of times I used to come to these canals and try to underarm it under these little alcoves, and the mistake I'd make is to stick it in a tree instead. But here we go. Really easy to do. Take your time. Another really important element about this is the fact that if you do arrive and you know you're on fish straight away, you're at a massive advantage, because when you're crashing a lead in on top of the fish, you're going to spook them away for a good while. With this approach, you can pretty much put food right in the middle of their living room. So imagine being at home and suddenly there's a burger sat on the coffee table. Well, this is exactly what I'm trying to do here. And look, that would be almost impossible to cast there. You've got twigs overhanging. I know there's no snags where I am. I'm not casting it into, I'm not putting it into branches. I'm literally getting it under the alcove where the carp feels safe. And with a little turn of my hand, that rig is right there, absolutely bang on. And hopefully, with a rod on the rest, it won't be too long before we get a bite. Now, a mistake I see a lot of beginners make when they're fishing snaggy lakes is to basically fish with the wrong setup in the wrong situation. Here you can see loads of snags along the canal. My rigs are right under in the trees. Now, the worst thing you can possibly do is to fish with loose clutches. That's something a lot of people do. They get a bite, the fish just tears straight through the snags, but because their clutches are so loose, they've got absolutely no chance of landing that fish. Now, I know and understand why people do that. They're afraid of losing their rod, so they think by having a loose clutch, that's going to cure it. Well, you might keep your rod, but you definitely lose the carp. Now, everything can be remedied, and as you'll notice here, I've got these rod locks, okay? They're absolutely rock solid, so even with the clutch super, super tight, that fish can't pull that rod in. You'll also notice I've got these little snag ears here, okay? That stops the rod from being pulled off the rest. So the rod itself is really secure, everything's done for a reason. And also with the rods at this angle, when the fish pulls, I've got that tip instantly giving it resistance. But the final and most important point is how tight you have your clutch. Now, even some people haven't, just loosen it off there, they think that's tight enough. That isn't. It needs to be absolutely rock solid. So I ramp it right up until I can't, you know, tighten that bait runner anymore. And I've just got like a foot drop on my bobbin. So literally, as the fish bites and bolts, that's all they've got up to there, and that's it. Then it's me on the rod. I always sit very close to the rods. Right, I'll just turn this volume up just so you can tell exactly how sensitive I've got my alarms. I've got them on plus sensitivity and number 2. So look, hardly any movement and I'm getting indication straight away. So I know any sort of activity out there is going to be indicated back on the setup. So the fundamental points to remember are a very tight clutch, can't give any line at all, stabilisers, rod locks, snag ears, and I can guarantee you by doing that you're giving yourself every chance of landing your quarry. Right, I've just taken a little stroll down to Jimmy's spot. Jimmy, we're going to chat to you a little bit about the rig and the sort of setup you've been using on the canal.
Yeah.
Now, I can see a little number here.
Yeah.
Firstly, talk me through the hook bait, what it is.
It's very, very simple, mate. Just a simple 15mm cell bottom bait. Right. Trim right down, releases a little bit more flavour and also allows me to balance it with that little yellow pop-up on the top there. Well,
I've already seen you have a bit of trouble off a couple of bream. So,
yeah, I have, unfortunately, mate.
So it's definitely attractive because it's luring the fish to it.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. I mean, I've only caught bream at the moment, mate, but if a carp comes into the area, it's not going to refuse that, is it?
Now, that's a small little hook bait, Jimmy. Would you rather use something larger and deter the bream,
yeah,
or something small?
No, I like something small, mate. I really don't mind everything coming to the party on the case of the canal. Bream, tench, roach, they'll really cloud the water up and sift through all the silts and all the fragments up, and carp will investigate as a result. It's simple. I know you, on the other hand, probably wouldn't.
Yeah, well, we'll have a look at my rig later, but yeah, I'm using a snowman rig with sort of conventional sized boilies. Yeah. But right, let's talk about how you tie this setup up then. What's the first thing you do?
It's just really simple, mate. Basically, I tie hair first of all.
So what's that, a little overhand loop? Or?
Yeah, the overhand loop. Actually, the very first thing is to strip some coating back.
Okay.
To reveal the soft inner.
So this is just a standard coated hook link. Looks like a sort of weedy green colour. Yeah. And how much do you uncoat to start with?
2 inches,
right.
Around 2 inches. I use a coated braid simply because it's strong and reliable on a canal there could be anything on the bottoms, and I want to get the fish in if I hook them. So.
Yeah, so you've got the abrasion resistance and all that sort of quality that a coated braid brings to the party, as you say. So
exactly that.
Right, so you've done that. You uncoated a little bit. I can see a rig ring on there. I presume that's the next step, is it?
Yeah, exactly that. They call it the blowback rig. I don't really pay any attention to them principles. The only reason I use a ring is to stop the hair tangling, and the other is so the rig can actually reset itself if a fish has taken it in and spat it out.
Yeah, well, but because you've got a slightly buoyant bait on there and the ring, if a fish spits it out, it gets flown back like that. But with that stiffer hook link and the balanced bait, it's got the chance to kick back out.
Exactly that.
And sit back exactly how
rather
it started.
than tangle, yeah.
And I suppose the other plus point of a rig ring is the fact that it can move out of the way when you hook into a fish,
exactly
so it doesn't hinder your hook hold.
No, it leaves the hook completely clear to hook into the bottom lip.
Right, it looks like a size 8 curve hook.
Exactly that, mate. Yeah.
And is that how have you tied that on?
Knotless knot style, simple and very, very effective and strong.
All right, let's move on to our little mouse dropping here. Why have you got that on there then, mate?
That's just to pin the hook link to the bottom, mate, and keep everything flush and out of the fish's way. Some of the spots that we've been feeding over the past few days have become a little bit cleaner as the carp have continued fed on that lake bed, and that'll keep it flush and out of the way.
So a bit of putty or a little mini sinker will do the job there, lovely. And then coming up the hook link, that's at lengthwise about 10 inches?
Yeah, about 10 inches.
Is that a starting point for you, is it?
Yeah, it's fairly standard, yeah.
Yeah, right, okay. And then just at the end here, little loop?
Just a figure of 8 loop, yeah. I use a quick link, and that just allows me to change very quickly.
Okay, so if you want to, change to a stick or whatever, you can just quickly snip it on and off.
Exactly.
Well, there we have it, a little rig that's been doing the business for Jimmy, and later on, we're going to have a look at mine. It's been really awkward to keep the rigs in position today. Every time I've got them out, a swan's come over the top and picked the rigs up, and then just when I thought it was all settled and we got rid of the swans, in came a barge. So it's just getting to that witching hour now when hopefully the canal carp are going to feed. I did lose one earlier. It was a really unexpected bite out of the blue, middle of lunchtime. No one was expecting it. We were all sort of sat round having a cup of tea, and yep, just out the blue, it pulled out the clip, and unfortunately I lost a fish on another angler's line that was stuck in the trees, and that's a sort of occupational hazard in this type of fishing. You get these, people trying to cast really tight into the snags and everything, and unfortunately it means there's a lot of line laying around, and that can cause you all sorts of trouble when you're hooking to fish. So I've got to be that extra bit wary now of that happening. But this is going back to where I got the bite. It was actually the first rod I put out. So here we go. It's just in position, I think. There we go. I'm just going to tilt it round. Lovely. So I'm just going to get that on the rest, chill out and see what the evening brings.
Right, you're now joining us in prime time. I've just put the rod back out and I've had a bream, so things are getting active out there. The next 2 hours really are going to be the one, so fingers crossed we get a bite.